Papa Squat, coming at ya. Hey everybody, this is not a music video. This is the video that Will Smith just released. I love Will Smith. I like Chris Rock. Um, uh, and the whole thing that went on with them, I thought, was basically between the two or three of them. And I wanted to show this video because it is actually a really good apology. If you're not aware, well, obviously you're most likely aware that Will slapped the shit out of Chris Rock when he said something definitely meant as a joke, definitely a sensitive subject about Will's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, who has alopecia and her problems with her hair. And Will slapped him on stage at the Oscars. Not a good choice. I watched that, as I'm sure probably all of you did, and there was something else going on there. I have no idea what, but man, all I saw was pain on Smith's face when the camera was on him. Like, something else was going on. We will never know what that is. Who knows if they even know what it is, and Will knows what it is. But I thought this apology was actually really good because, this gets into all sorts of racial stuff, and I don't want it to seem like I'm reinforcing these ideas, but these are ideas that are out there in the world that African American or black people are violent and can't control themselves, and there's all this crap tied up with that, and it's all bullshit. Everybody is different, and yet everybody is exactly the same. It doesn't make any difference what your skin color is. Something else was going on there. Will was not feeling good. He was upset about something. Who knows? But I like this apology. I've already watched it. And do I remember the specifics of it? No, it was hours ago, and that's just what my brain does. But I want to go through it because I think it's important that he did step up and do this, even if it has taken a few months. What that tells me is nobody was forcing him to come out and do this. He took some time, thought about it, figured out, like, what did I do? Why did I do that? Why did I... talk about a perfect example of toxic masculinity, right? He did not need to go up on that stage and slap Chris Rock across the face. He just didn't need to do that. He could have said something to him. He could have yelled at him from the audience. That still would have been inappropriate. But he could have handled it in 100,000 other ways that were better than getting up on stage in one of the biggest broadcasts of the year and slapping somebody across the face. And I don't think anybody is going to disagree that was not the right thing to do. It was absolutely the wrong thing to do. I don't know if I said that correctly. It was absolutely the wrong thing to do. But let's take a look at this, and I'll have more to say about it, but it's a really good apology, and you can tell he's honest about it, and it's not just an act. He's not that good an actor. He's a fine actor. You hear that breath? He's nervous as fuck. Yeah, this is not a comfortable man.
Why didn't you apologize to Chris in your acceptance speech? I was fogged out by that point. It's all fuzzy. I've reached out to Chris, and the message that came back is that he's not ready to talk, and when he is, he will reach out. So I will say to you, Chris, I apologize to you. My behavior was unacceptable, and I'm here whenever you're ready to talk.
That's all he needs to say. He doesn't need to answer anything else. He does not owe anybody anything. This is really not a public thing that needs to be done. This is he shouldn't have done it in public. He shouldn't have done the slap in public, right? He could talk to Chris privately, But the fact that he's coming out, sitting down, putting this out on the internet, people are going to say he's being manipulative or blah, 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 and who gives a shit what they think? I honestly think this is an honest apology. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's a moral guy. I think he's an ethical guy. I think he knows how to use his brain. And he understands that what he did was not the right way to do it. And what I'm really curious about, and I know I have a lot of people who subscribe to the channel and comment on my videos that are African American or Hispanic, and this is specifically for the African American black folks. How hard is this for him to do as a black guy? I have no idea. I mean, I know how hard it is for anybody, for white people especially, to apologize, and some people are just horrible at it, just awful at it. And there's a stigma to apologizing, to admitting you're wrong, to admitting you did something wrong, that you overreacted, that you whatever, right? And for him, one of the biggest stars in the world and one of the most successful black entertainers in the world, to come out and do this, nobody else is in this shot with him. There's nobody else that we see. This is him talking to us. He is answering questions that people have put to him over time about what happened. Why didn't you apologize in your speech? He probably was completely, I mean, who knows? He might have had some drinks ahead of time. He might have had drinks sitting at the table. He might have been completely sober. I have no idea. But imagine doing that and then realizing, like, holy shit, what did I just do? And he didn't need to stand up for his wife. She is perfectly capable of doing that, and I'm sure he understands that as well. This was Will reacting as a guy who grew up being taught to respect women, I hope, and that you don't say things like that. And I'm sure he and his wife have had conversations about the issues that she has with her hair and hair care and etc., etc. And so he probably felt like, my wife's not going to do anything. She's going to roll her eyes, and I as Will am going to have to deal with the emotional fallout from Chris making that comment to Jada later, and I know how it's going to affect her, and I know how her alopecia affects her and all this stuff. So I get why he did what he did, but it still was the wrong thing to do. I absolutely think it's a perfect example of toxic masculinity. He did not have to do it, and I think this is a really important apology, and I'm very, very interested in finding out, like, how difficult is this? What does he gain or lose in the eyes of other people that share a skin color? It seems like such a stupid thing to say, and that cultural difference between whites and blacks, right? Like, what is it that this gains or loses him in the eyes of that community?
I want to apologize to Chris's mother. I saw an interview that Chris's mother did, and that was one of the things about that moment. I just didn't realize, and I wasn't thinking, but how many people got hurt in that moment. So I want to apologize to Chris's mother. I want to apologize to Chris's family, specifically Tony Rock. We had a great relationship. Tony Rock was my man, and this is probably irreparable. I spent the last 3 months replaying and understanding the nuances and the complexities of what happened in that moment.
So you took all this time to understand the complexities of what happened, and I think that word is super important, because the only person who really understands the complexities is him, who understands what was going on in his head. And I love the fact that he apologized not just to Chris, but to Chris's mom. I mean, what nice thing to do, right? He didn't need to do that. And it shows a kind of a level of wisdom. Like, it wasn't just Chris who got hurt, and he seems to have done a significant damage to a relationship with Chris's brother. And I can understand that, right? You don't lay hands on my brother. I get that. I only have sisters, so it doesn't quite apply, but I understand that impulse of like, hey, listen, if somebody's going to beat the shit out of my brother, it's going to be me. It's not going to be you. And I totally understand that. Brothers have a different relationship. Brothers and sisters have a different relationship than a friend. And yeah, you don't step on that unless you really want to be in the middle of some serious shit. And I mean, look at the guy. He looks like he's hurt. And this is somebody who's spent the last 30 some years of his life probably really carefully crafting his outward appearance and personality to be as really as inoffensive and acceptable as possible. And in one instant of thinking he was doing the right thing to stand up for his wife, I mean, he blew all that out of the water. And he goes on to explain some more here. And I just think this is such a... I hope he gets credit for doing this and people don't just rake him over the coals, because... I mean, even this shot right here, I just randomly paused, and you can see the guy is... he does not hide in a secret smile, like, ha ha ha, I'm lying through my teeth. No, this has had huge effects for him, and he doesn't need to do this. He could just retire. He could just be done. But it's important to him that he comes out and acts as some kind of role model, and even if it's just for him, right? Even if it's just so that he knows, okay, I did everything that I possibly could to make this right. He can never go back and change what happened. All he can do is make an apology, be sincere about it, and change his behavior going forward. And I think that's exactly what he's talking about here, and I really hope people let him have that next chance.
And I'm not going to try to unpack all of that right now, but I can say to all of you, there is no part of me that thinks that was the right way to behave in that moment. There's no part of me that thinks that's the optimal way to handle a feeling of disrespect or insults.
Testosterone is a hell of a drug.
After Jada rolled her eyes, did she tell you to do something? No. It's like...
she didn't, but he knew what she was thinking and feeling, or at least he understood from previous context, like, oh, that hurt her, or whatever. Like, what he understood. They've been together a long time. He knows how this stuff affects her, and I'm sure they've talked about it a lot. So she may not have said anything, and I'm not putting any blame on her at all. She is definitely one of the victims here. She is the main victim here. Rock was out of line making that joke, and I love comedy. That is not a joke you make. You do not... she has zero control over that, and she's... I don't know why he would do that. I don't understand the reasons behind it. Maybe he thought they were all closer than they really were, and who knows. It's really a messed up situation, but it is not as huge a situation as everybody has made it. It is between really their two families, and really between three of them. And I understand what Will did, and I understand what he's saying right now. It's what he did in the moment, because that's what the chemicals in his brain told him to do, and it was not the right choice.
Like, I made a choice on my own, from my own experiences, from my history with Chris.
And he could have just said, oh yeah, she told me to go slap the shit out of him. He could no. He just is totally taking responsibility. Jada had nothing to do with it. He's saying.
Data had nothing to do with it. I'm sorry, babe. Um, I'm gonna say sorry to my kids and my family for the heat that I brought on all of us. To all my fellow nominees, this is a community. It's like I won because you voted for me, and it really breaks my heart to have stolen and tarnished your moment. Um, I can still see Questlove's eyes. It happened on Questlove's award, and you know, it's like I'm sorry really isn't sufficient. What would you say to the people who looked up to you before the slap, or people who expressed that you let them down? Um, so there's two things. One, disappointing people is my central trauma.
So this is super important. This guy, I think he's about my age. He's 50 something. I think we might be exactly the same age, actually. And everybody has something in their background that affects them, or many things in their background, right? And people have a pretty good sense of the history of Smith's life. And this is a really telling thing, and he's saying this to the world, like, disappointing people is the thing that I am most concerned about in my life, and that, absolutely, I have no doubt that comes from childhood, right? And it's super, I'm not going to say brave, it's really amazing for him to come and say this in front of everybody as part of this, and it explains to me what he's been going through over the last few months of, like, how do I deal with this? How do I confront this in a way that is honest and real and true? And I think this is really good of him.
I hate when I let people down. So it hurts. It hurts me psychologically and emotionally to know I didn't live up to people's image and impression of me. And the work I'm trying to do is, I am deeply remorseful, and I'm trying to be remorseful without being ashamed of myself. Right? I'm human.
Yep.
And I made a mistake, and
he's a star. He's a worldwide success story star, and people forget, or people somehow think that famous people, rich people, movie stars, singers, whatever, are perfect or somehow better. No, they just are famous, and they just have money. Like, they're not better people. They just happen to be successful. And he I'm sure this is really difficult for him.
I'm trying not to think of myself as a piece of shit.
Yep.
So I would say to those people, I know it was confusing. I know it was shocking. But I promise you, I am deeply devoted and committed to putting light and love and joy into the world.
And looking at his career over the last 30, 40 years, can you have any doubt that that is untrue? Can you at all doubt that that's not true? All he's ever done is stuff that's either been fun or happy or artistically meaningful or somehow impactful on whether it's society in general something fun like Independence Day, or something meaningful like Pursuit of Happiness. I think that's what the name of the movie was. He's absolutely correct. He's only ever tried to be a force for positive things in the world, and instead of apologizing like he's doing now, he could do the, screw you. I stood up for my woman. Fuck you. I'm just gonna that I did the right thing. He could do that, and that's not the right way to do it. I think this is a fantastic apology because he's being real with everybody, and this does, I think, cost him something, and it also really makes him a better person to me.
And you know, if you hang on, I promise we'll be able to be friends again.
There you go. I don't think there's anything more. Yeah, that's it. I think it's a great apology. I'm really curious. I'm really curious about what you guys have to say about the cultural differences. Like, what does this apology mean to you and to the black community, right? Because I just have no inkling of what that's like, or what people think of Will Smith in general. I know my feelings towards Will Smith. I think he's always been amazing. I remember playing his records in high school on my high school radio station, and I loved them because they were funny and good. They were just so good. And he's only ever done things like that since then, and I hated when I saw what happened at the awards, and I absolutely put some of the blame on Rock. He should not have made the quip, but Will is absolutely in the wrong, and I think this is a fair and honest and open apology, and I hope Chris Rock takes him up on it, and they can be an example of how you should handle things like this when you do make a mistake, and that it's possible to move forward. I really hope that's true, and I hope you guys all don't mind that I am reacting to this. I don't normally do this sort of thing, but I really like Will Smith. I really like Chris Rock, and I really don't want this to have a huge negative effect on either of them. And I think they were both in the wrong. I think Will was more in the wrong, but it's personal between the two of them, and I think the way he's handling it here is a very, very good thing. If you stuck around for this whole thing, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and Pop Squat, checking out. I'll be doing some more videos very shortly.